Welcome back. I am back, your host, Jeffrey B. This is Healing Shame. And the vacation was great. Got to see some amazing, spooky, old primeval forests and mountains. And so it is July 4th. Happy Independence Day to all of you Americans out there. And got me a new hat here as well. And let's just go ahead and put that reading up on the screen. Here we are. All right, July 4th. This is from Strengthening My Recovery. Text: long-term trauma. Through the first 18 years of our lives, our families had 6,570 days to shame, belittle, ignore, criticize, or manipulate us during the formative years of our being. Big Red Book, page 105. How could we have turned out any other way? We grew up in dysfunction, and it's not our fault. We were affected by it. We were just children. All we knew of the world was what we were shown by our parents, the people we were hardwired to trust and emulate. It's not our fault we didn't find a way to stop the abuse. We learned the language of abuse just as we learned to speak our native tongue. It was automatic. We're not whining, overthinking it, or making mountains out of molehills. Our laundry list traits are a legitimate reaction to long-term trauma. The good news is that something magical happens when we accept we are powerless over our childhood trauma and its effects on us. It doesn't mean we give up and let it have power over us. The opposite happens. It loses power over us. We begin to have a choice about how we respond when the dysfunction manifests itself in our adult lives. It's like admitting there's a leak in the roof, and now we can put a bucket on the floor, change out of our wet clothes, and fix the roof. And we can do it without guilt because the leak was already there before we came along. Here's our affirmation or mantra. On this day, I embrace the freedom that comes from accepting there is nothing I could have done to prevent the dysfunction I grew up in and the effect it has had on me. That's copyright 2013 by Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families World Service Organization. It's a good reading, right? Yeah, this is crucial for me to be reminded that none of this is my fault. It's not my fault. I didn't become a rock star, a superstar, make the headlines in the news, or pursue my dreams because when I was a kid, I wasn't fucking allowed to have any dreams unless they followed my mother's dreams or my grandmother's dreams. And this is a harsh reality to swallow. This is a hard thing to process, but all of the shit I have built up over the years and how I handle people and reactions in my adult life, it's not my fault. The effects, I am powerless over the effects of family dysfunction, and my life has become unmanageable. That's step one. We're talking about step one here. And this is step one in a lot of 12-step recovery groups, especially in ACA. And I need to be aware of this powerlessness. I need to admit it. I need to accept it. And at that point, my higher power can then begin to come into my life and help those things be integrated. That is, those laundry list traits. As I work through the steps, those laundry list traits can be integrated into my life. My inner child, my loving parent can come out. My inner child can come out. My critic, my inner critics get to be a little quieter and they also get integrated. All kinds of miraculous things happen once I begin to work the steps and do the other suggested actions in this program. But it is important for me to remember that, you know, when I go out and I say, hey, I'm an adult child, I'm still struggling today with this shit, with all of the effects of this family dysfunction. It is not my fault, and I am not trying to complain. I'm not trying to create some kind of stir up drama or just say, you're just trying to make yourself into a victim or something like that, for example. I've heard those words from my family members, from people in my family. They say, "You're not over it. You need help. Get help." They don't say, "Well, here's how to get help," or "Jeff, you're still struggling, and that's okay. You are still affected by it, and that's you should be. It was hell what you went through. All the violence and the belittling and the shaming and the worry and the fear and the control, all that stuff. No, I'm not healed, and I don't have to be healed today. I didn't get sick overnight, and I'm not going to get healed overnight. I didn't have Jesus come down and lay his big fat hand on me and say, "Oh, come to Jesus, you're healed today." No, that didn't happen to me, and it doesn't have to happen to me today. And I don't really know if I want that to happen to me. My recovery is of the educational variety, as William James has put it. That is a slow, progressive healing. The burning bush is not for me. I didn't get touched by some Hindu god or some Judeo-Christian mythos. Didn't come down and turn me around. No, didn't happen. And not bitter about it. That is one way for some people to heal, and for me, um, my higher power is a faceless God, is a vague and nebulous God, and they said my higher power is God without a face, is absolute and pure love, and that concept is not easy to understand for some people because you can't draw a picture of Jesus, white Jesus, with that brown flowing hair. Not even an accurate depiction of Jesus. That's all myth. Mine is a different kind of higher power that does work for me, and I'm not going to compare my insides with what other people look like on the outside. And a lot of people can talk a good talk, and they're not even acting like that in any kind of beneficial way. So none of this is my fault. And yeah, I still have anger. I still have some anger today, and that is perfectly okay for me to still feel a little bit riled up about the way that this stuff has affected me, all the competition I still have in my blood against, people in my family, having to compete with them, and all that stuff still in there. Yeah, I don't have to justify, "Oh, yeah, I'm still healing. Oh, man, I'm so far behind you guys. I'm still healing." Screw that. I'm not gonna do that anymore. This is not my fault that those people turned me into what I am today. They programmed me, they put in place my buttons, and, I've gotta face those demons, and I am one day at a time. So I'm just glad I haven't committed suicide. I haven't blown my brains out. I haven't jumped off the building. I'm traveling the world. I'm going to Tibet in a couple of days. So I'm pretty damn lucky I am where I am based on the background I came from with all the abuse and murder, suicide, the violence, the shaming. I'm very fortunate I am where I am today. And none of it's my fault. I don't have to make excuses. I don't have to justify my thoughts or feelings, and all those other things. So just remember that. If people try to tell you, "Oh, you're making too much out of it, let it go. It's in the past." Don't listen to that. Distance yourself from those people because they're trying to gaslight you and they're trying to minimize your trauma. This is trauma. It's stored in the tissue, in the mind, and it's going to take a long time to work through this. So we have to do the work, the steps, the therapy, and everything that comes with it to get through this. Some of us get touched by Jesus. Awesome. I'm not saying that's not a valid way to go, but it hasn't happened for me, and it doesn't have to happen for me, or any of you others. It doesn't have to happen that way. It can be a transformative educational variety by working the steps, getting therapy, and going through it a more sort of, I don't know, humanistic way. This is a spiritual program, not a religious program. Very important. Um, so that's all we have today. I'm glad to be back with you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.